what is this I'm hearing about games as a service taking over and nobody gives a fuck? This is JD Omega, and I'm going to be tackling some topics regarding the future of gaming and where are we really heading? You know, along with some, you know, some supposed leaks about the PS5 and stuff like that. This is what I've been hearing. I don't have any special sources or anything like that, but this is just things that are in the back end. Actually, it is kind of a little bit special sources, so I'll be going over that. But let's jump right into it. Essentially, I have a problem. With games and their trajectory and how we are just slowly but surely being trained to accept the games as a service. I mean, it's fine if you have some games doing their own thing and, you know, but not the whole industry. You know, Anthem came out, you know, you got Destiny 2 that's already come out. And then you have what? The games. The Division 2 is coming out. And what you're seeing is these looter shooters just coming out and just dominating everything. It's pretty fucking bad right now. It is. And, you know, one could say that, okay, so you don't have to play it. You don't gotta play it, JD. You don't gotta play it at all. You could just ignore it. But this shit is seeping into other genres and other games and things of that nature. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, people were praising Sony for these single player experiences. But it's only going to be a certain amount of time before Sony jumps on this bandwagon as well, once they can figure a way to monetize this way of thinking. Because that's what this is. This is a mindset. This is a training of sorts to get everybody to actually start playing games of this caliber, and just the single player games are going to the wayside. I mean, these never ending single player games, they have no end game whatsoever. You just keep playing it over and over and over again, which is a shame. You know what I mean? We had God of War and that was highly successful, but you know, one publisher can only do but so much. Eventually they will succumb to these issues as well once, you know, their breadwinners, you know, stops making money. That's just basically what's going to happen, and it is an absolute shame, and we did it to ourselves. We accept the mediocrity that is Sea of Thieves, Anthem, especially Destiny, because Destiny kind of like, you know, catapulted this whole mindset. Destiny definitely started this shit. It was either going, it went from single player experiences to actual DLC, and that DLC changed into not just added content after the game was finished, but just like basically a chunk of the single player, that game that you purchased, not being available to you when you purchase that game, and then you have to pay for the other half of the single player experience. Which is, I'm like, what? That's what we're doing now. That's what we're doing, and we accepted this shit. So DLC kept going and going and going, and then it moved once that fucking, you know, meal ticket expired. It started moving towards multiplayer games. Every game needed to have multiplayer, so you know what I mean. You can keep people engaged, and you know, then you had the cell phone era where people were doing this almost gambling thing, which created the looter shooters, which that's what Destiny is. And then now you get success stories like, which I don't think is egregious as people say. And I'm not even talking about publishers. I'm talking about just the market trends. But then you get things like battle royale games. You know, that ended up, you know, selling, and it transformed one game that wasn't even about battle royale into one that was battle royale, which was Fortnite. They gave it to you for free, and they allow for you to buy costumes and stuff like that. And now everybody wants this just mediocre, or not even, let me not be negative, not even mediocre. You get this base experience, and in order for you to feel, because that's the name of the game, in order for you to feel like, you know, like for you to inject your personality, you got to start purchasing things. You know what I mean? So you had to purchase dances and outfits and shit like that. And then somebody had the idea, some of these publishers had the idea to say, you know what, we can actually do this shit with games that are $60. So let them buy unfinished games that are $60 and then have them buy the other portions of the game as DLC. Or just release unfinished games and we'll fix it later under the guise of a beta, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. If it was me, if I created Red Dead Redemption 2, what I would have done, you had so many things. You had horse races, fishing, you know what I mean? You had animal hunting and stuff like that. You could have had, you know, saloon brawls. You had a lot of shit that you could have done, and it's bare bones, and it's still bare bones months, almost 6 months after the game was released. It is still a bare bones game. And then they have the audacity to charge you $120 for a fucking taunt. $120, and I'm not talking about real dollars. I'm talking about the stuff that you can earn it. What are you complaining about, JD? You can earn it. You know how long it takes for you to get a fucking dollar in the game? It takes you probably about 10 to 15 minutes. And you do the math. You multiply that shit to equal out to $120. Or you can buy these fucking gold bars, which, you know, that's like $50 a pop for you to get one fucking outfit. And Anthem's doing it now too. Outfits and, you know, skins that are fucking $8, $10, $15, $20 and shit like that. And then people, this is why Anthem's getting blasted the way that it is. It's not that it's a bad game necessarily, it's unfinished. It's not finished, and then you're still trying to sell us microtransactions for shit that belonged in the game in the first place. So I ask you this question. Do you guys, do you like where everything's heading? Do you like this? Is this something that you want? Because us as consumers, we could put a stop to this shit quick, fast. But I don't have any faith, because you know what? AirPods and things of that nature are successful. Screens with huge notches cutting into them, that's fucking successful. Phones without any fucking headphone jacks are super successful, and that you have to buy all these extra things just because you like that brand, which I had a video about this shit before. I don't have any faith in humanity, because you know what? That's probably, people are just going to keep pushing this shit, and that's where our future is going to go. Games and services everywhere. Mediocre games, now I will say it, mediocre, piss poor, unfinished games for a little bit of fucking fun, and you have to buy a whole bunch of shit to personalize it. Because I definitely don't see them going the free route. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments. Garbage. And on to PlayStation 5 news. And this is what I've been hearing. This is interesting. Actually, no. Let me backtrack. Not even PS5 news. There's a couple of things regarding the subject that I just mentioned. So it turns out that, I just want to have a little cliff notes here. So it turns out that Phil Spencer stated that this E3 and throughout the 2019, you'll start to see investments in the store for Windows. What about your console? Are you gonna do anything about that? No? This is the thing too. Microsoft sat there and they're building up their online games, or they're building up their console experiences. You don't have to pay online, a whole bunch of shit. People are like licking their ass for that. There's exclusive for PC that you don't get on the consoles, but they're a console, they supposed to be, you know, helping their console shit out. But I digress. You know, I'm actually listening to people about Game Pass. Game Pass. Everybody was like, "Ooh, Game Pass is such a good idea. It's so consumer friendly." I didn't know that, just like Netflix, they can add and remove games. You know what I mean? So that's the risk that you have to take. And I'm reading people's comments. You know what? You know, I would rather just, you know, I would rather just you get what you pay for and shit like that. It's just the dumbest fucking thing ever. there are people saying that the degradation of PlayStation Plus. There's people that are like, "Oh, I'm just gonna keep my subscription for this." Fucking PlayStation Plus is for discounts, and it's funny too because people were actually buying Xbox Live. You got nothing for it. You got nothing for it except for online. All of a sudden now that the precedent what Sony started, you want these fucking AAA games trying to make it into a Game Pass. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There's too much at stake. There's too much money to be had with your exclusives. One person actually said this: I'll only keep my sub to play Firewall Zero online, and once the game's population dies out or Sony pulls the plug on their servers, I'm just going to cancel my sub. Like, how fucking entitled are you? And you pretty much know where this came from, so I'm not going to mention their fucking name. Fuck them. Then I'm hearing this too for games as a service. Ubisoft is going to nerf the gold that you get for an Odyssey, their economy, and increase the gear upgrade cost. Like, this is games as a service. This is games as a service. That's the future. This is the future that game as a service is. And, you know, I'm hoping that we don't support it, but it looks like, you know, out of all this outrage community and outrage, you know, crew, no one's stopping this anti-consumer bullshit. But, you know, people are hypocrites in this world. They wanna feel included in this shit. Ridiculous. On to the PlayStation 5 leaks. So I'll break down what this means, right? Supposedly, there was a member that leaked the Wii U's specs. He's out again, and he's basically mentioning about, you know, the PlayStation 5 specs. So here's the stuff that they are, you know, basically going to what they're saying about the PS5. There's also speculation about The Last of Us Part 2 on the PS5 is going to be 4K and 60 frames per second, so we gotta see this. The CPU is going to be an 8-core, 16 threads at 3.2 gigahertz, and it's based off of Zen 2. This is what they're saying. In case you didn't know, with this particular speed and threads, they will be able to emulate PS3 games because it's 1.8 on the PS4 and it's 6 cores versus the 7 cores that's what is it? It's not asynchronous. Basically it's one processor that's one way, and then there's six other processors that is totally different. So you have one CPU and 6 SPUs, if I'm not mistaken. And they were running at what is it? 3.2 gigahertz. That's how they were running. Cool. So you got that going on. So we'd be able to get PS3 games, which is pretty cool. So people are saying that it's even bigger. It's even bigger of a leap from the PS2 to the PS3. So it's curious to see how that's going to really play out. I'll be very curious to see how that's going to work. Now, for the GPU, we're talking about this. So the GPU is, let me take a look here. It's supposedly Navi based. Okay, so it has a whole bunch of AMD's next generation like architecture features, and it's going to be either at 12.6 teraflops or 14.2 teraflops. So they don't know what the clock is that they're going to have. No one knows, because the teraflops is one thing, and I guess that variation is because of the clock speed. Supposed to have 24 gigabytes of memory, 20 to 24 GDDR6, and it's running at 880 gigabits per second. And then there's 4 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM reserved for the OS, and a 2 terabyte hard drive. So what does that mean? What it simply means is this: when your CPU is at play, when you want to speak about CPU, we're looking at how many objects can you render physically? How many calculations? You know what I mean? How well your level of detail can be swapped, if you're even doing that. You have tessellations. How fast can you calculate things? Basically, it's not a quality of life, but it'd be more along the lines of how many objects are on a screen. People think that it's tied to frame rate as well. It's not really tied to frame rate. The memory bandwidth, how fast your memory is tied to your frame rate and how you can feel it. The better your memory, the higher the frame rate you can make, and the easier it is to do it. Because think about it, like the CPU for the Xbox One X has been actually don't even go there. There's no 60 frames per second games on the PS3 that was stable, and they had a hell of a fucking GPU or CPU. So all these people running around thinking that the CPU is supposed to be that strong, enough to have 60 frames per second games, it doesn't work that way. It's memory that does that. Now, in terms of the GPU, we don't know too much about it, but going off of the teraflops, you shouldn't expect, I would say, about 15 teraflops if they really want to do damage. 15 teraflops. Remember, the PS4 is 1.84 teraflops, and they're utilizing that. That 1.8 teraflops is basically the base of everything else. And then your extra power from the PlayStation Pro and the Xbox One X is basically used brute force to bump up the resolution or, add a little bit more detail. If it's catered to it specifically for that hardware, you're going to look at a lot of different, way better performance. Not only that, but you have newer techniques and and it should be more efficient. So there's this thing called ray tracing, and it allows for much better lighting. I'm not going to go into that, but it allows for much better lighting. So you need to look into that and what that would mean for the games. So I think ray tracing is going to be a part of it. There's no dedicated hardware for ray tracing specifically. For these new consoles, it'd be too much fucking money. But I do think that it's going to be a lot of efficient little programs that allow it to them to cheat it. Stuff like global illumination, which creates a more cohesive lighting, or better reflections, or tessellation that allow things to look more rounded, better, hair tests, hair tessellation for better hair, things like that in video games. So that's what we're looking at here. It'll be interesting to see. It looks like a really sizable, decent upgrade if this is the truth. Even if it is 12 teraflops, which I think they'll probably go for 14. If it's 14 teraflops, yeah, that's a damn sizable, upgrade, and I'll take that because everything's gonna be 4K, and everything's gonna be looking good. Things are gonna look more realistic too. I know a lot of people like the way that Horizon Zero Dawn looks, but you have a lot more fucking detail in the faces, a lot more detail on a very granulated level, on a very small level. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about the video, what you like or dislike about the video, and if you liked it, a sub would be appreciated. Peace.